Julius Caesar was the greatest conqueror in human history. His name echoed with victory across Europe, but in the sweltering summer of 52 BC, his legend was about to be buried. He had cornered his greatest rival, the unified Gallic king Vercingetorix, at a seemingly impregnable hilltop fortress called Alesia. Caesar thought he had him trapped. He was dead wrong. As Caesar's legions began to dig their siege lines, a shadow fell. Not from Alesia, but from behind them. An unimaginable relief army of over 250,000 Gallic warriors, the largest barbarian host the ancient world had ever seen, had arrived to crush Rome. Caesar was no longer the hunter, he was the prey, pinioned between the massive stone walls of a city he couldn't breach, and a monstrous horde at his back. Rome's greatest general was trapped. Most men would have surrendered, most would have ordered a desperate retreat. Julius Caesar did something so audacious, so utterly insane, it changed the course of Western civilization forever. He decided to build a second wall. Today, we uncover the brutal truth of the siege of Alesia. The day Rome nearly died, and the man who forged an empire out of dirt, blood, and an impossible gamble. Caesar knew he couldn't fight a battle on two fronts in the open field. His 50,000 battle-hardened legionaries would be swallowed whole. So he ordered his army to become something else, an engineering corps. First, the circumvallation, an 11-mile ring of palisades, trenches, and towers facing inward, designed to starve Vercingetorix's 80,000 warriors trapped inside Alesia. But the true genius and the true horror was the contravallation, a 14-mile outer ring of fortifications facing away from Alesia, built to repel the arriving 250,000-strong Gallic relief army. Caesar's men, already exhausted, now had to build a fully fortified, self-sustaining battleground around themselves. In between these two monumental walls lay a narrow corridor. This was Rome's killing ground. This was Caesar's death labyrinth, and buried within this corridor, Caesar planted his garden of death. For 25 miles, Rome's legions worked ceaselessly. They dug 15-foot deep trenches, filled with water diverted from nearby rivers. They constructed 23 formidable forts and hundreds of wooden towers, each manned with archers and catapults. From the heights of Alesia, Vercingetorix watched, powerless. He realized Caesar wasn't just laying siege to his city. He was building a machine designed to dismantle an entire people. But a siege is not won by steel and wood alone. It's won by the stomach. Inside Alesia, 80,000 warriors and thousands of Gallic civilians began to starve. The rations dwindled, hope faded. Vercingetorix, facing annihilation, made a choice that still echoes with barbaric cruelty. To conserve precious food for his fighting men, he expelled the women, children, and elderly from the city. Thousands of innocent lives, weak from hunger, stumbled towards the Roman lines, begging for mercy. But Caesar's orders were absolute. No one passes. For days, these families sat in no man's land, trapped between the closed gates of their own city and the impenetrable spiked walls of the Romans. They starved to death, slowly, visibly, in full view of both armies. This wasn't just war. This was psychological warfare of the most brutal kind. A grim spectacle designed to break the will of every Gaul within Alesia, and every warrior waiting beyond the outer wall. Then the hammer fell. The massive Gallic relief army, seeing the suffering, could wait no longer. They launched a furious, desperate assault on Caesar's outer contravallation. At the same moment, Vercingetorix attacked from the inside. The Roman lines began to buckle. The sheer weight of numbers was overwhelming. A weak spot, a gap in the mountainous terrain where the Roman wall couldn't be perfectly completed, was found. The Gauls poured in like a tidal wave. Legions were being overwhelmed. Swords clashed against spears in a deafening cacophony. Caesar's death labyrinth was on the verge of collapsing. This was the breaking point. This is the moment a leader transcends. Caesar, without hesitation, put on his signature scarlet cloak, a deliberate target. He wanted every man on that field, Roman and Gaul, to know exactly where he was. He led his final reserve of Germanic cavalry out of a hidden gate, circling around the hill and smashing directly into the flank of the now exposed Gallic relief army. The shock was total. The Gauls, thinking a fresh Roman army had materialized, panicked. Their lines shattered. The unstoppable relief army broke and fled, slaughtered in the brutal pursuit. The next day, silence fell over Alesia. Vercingetorix, the last great Gallic king, rode out of the fortress alone. He was dressed in his finest silver armor, a final act of defiant dignity. He circled Caesar's throne, dismounted in silence, and threw his weapons at the Romans' feet. Gaul was dead. Rome had won. But the victory came at an unimaginable cost of lives and human suffering. The consequences of this single battle, this impossible siege, are still felt 2 millennia later. Because Caesar won, the Gallic world became the Latin world. The Romance languages, French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, Romanian, are the descendants of the Latin tongue Caesar spread. The very concept of Europe as a Roman-influenced cultural entity was forged in these hills. Had Vercingetorix triumphed, had the walls fallen, the Roman Republic itself might have shattered. Without Caesar's power and wealth from Gaul, there might have been no Roman Empire, no Augustus, perhaps no Christianity as we know it. The entire arc of Western history pivoted on this single, brutal siege. Caesar went on to cross the Rubicon, become dictator, and be assassinated in one of history's most infamous murders. Vercingetorix spent 6 long years in a Roman dungeon, paraded through Rome in Caesar's triumph, and then was strangled. 2 titans locked in a deadly embrace. One forged an empire, the other became a legend of lost freedom. If you want to see more ancient battles that shaped the world, subscribe now. The past is full of untold horrors, and we're just getting started.